There are people in your life right now who cannot stop thinking about you. And the terrifying part is they don't even fully understand why. They watch every move you make. They track your silence. They monitor your energy from a distance. And they have convinced themselves that what they feel is hatred. But hatred doesn't work that way. Not real hatred. They have never, not once, stopped paying attention to you. Think about that for a second. Think about the person who always has something to say about you, always has a critique ready, always positions themselves just close enough to your world to know what's happening inside it. That's not the behavior of someone who hates you. That's the behavior of someone who is consumed by you. Someone who wakes up and their first mental movement is in your direction. Someone whose internal map of the world has you placed right at the center, and they would rather destroy the map than admit that truth. Here's what nobody is going to tell you, what the people around you don't have the vocabulary to explain, what even the people hating on you don't have the self-awareness to admit. Obsession and hate wear the exact same costume. They produce the same behaviors, the watching, the commenting, the need to be near your information, the compulsion to react when you move. The only difference is the story the person tells themselves about why they do it. One person calls it love, another calls it rivalry, and the one who is most lost calls it hate, because calling it hate gives them permission to keep watching without shame. You have been misreading the situation entirely. You thought you had enemies. You thought you had people who wanted to see you fail. But what you actually have, and this is what's going to change the way you read every room you walk into from this moment forward, is an audience. A captive, helpless, involuntary audience of people who are so magnetized by who you are becoming that they have built an entire emotional infrastructure just to stay close to the signal of your life. And today we are going to name them, expose them, and show you exactly how to use that energy to launch yourself into a completely different stratosphere. Let's talk about what obsession actually looks like when it's hiding behind something else, because most people imagine obsession as something dramatic, someone standing outside your window in the rain, someone unable to function without you near. But the most powerful form of obsession is the quiet kind, the calculated kind, the kind that dresses itself up every morning in the language of indifference or contempt, walks into the room, and then spends the entire evening stealing glances at you from across it. The human mind is extraordinarily skilled at lying to itself. It is capable of constructing an entire false narrative about its own motivations and then living inside that narrative so completely that the person believes it without question. So when someone is obsessed with you but cannot accept that obsession because accepting it would require vulnerability, or admission of inadequacy, or acknowledgement of desire, the mind does something genius. It flips the emotion, it inverts it. It takes the energy of fascination and reroutes it through the channel of contempt, and suddenly the person has a socially acceptable reason to keep you in their life and thoughts at all times. This is the mechanism. This is the architecture of what you have been experiencing. The person who critiques everything you post has to look at everything you post first. The person who talks about you to mutual friends has to be thinking about you constantly to keep generating that content. The person who feels the need to position themselves as your opposite, smarter than you, more successful than you, more grounded than you, has defined their entire identity in relation to yours. Which means you are the fixed point around which their self-concept orbits. You are not their enemy. You are their North Star, and they hate that more than anything in the world. What makes this particularly fascinating from a psychological standpoint is that these people are not weak. In fact, obsessive fixation of this kind often attaches itself to people who are in many ways highly capable, highly perceptive, and deeply ambitious. The obsession isn't random. It is a response to sensing something in you that they cannot access in themselves, a quality, a frequency, a way of moving through the world that their nervous system, their conscious mind can even process it. You trigger something primal in them. And rather than sit with that discomfort and explore it, they weaponize it and point it back at you. Now let's get specific, because you need to be able to identify these three people in your actual life, not as abstract concepts, but as real individuals whose patterns you have been watching without fully understanding what those patterns were revealing about their inner world. Each one of these archetypes operates differently, but they are all running the same hidden program underneath. The first is what we call the reactor. This is the person who cannot encounter information about your life without having a response. Something shifts in their energy the moment your name comes up in conversation. They become slightly more alert, slightly more animated, slightly more invested in the direction of the discussion. When you succeed, a flash of something that moves across their face too fast for them to control. When you struggle, they lean forward almost imperceptibly. They are wired into you like a monitoring system, and every update your life sends out gets processed by them before almost anyone else. The second archetype is the mirror. This is the person who has mysteriously started doing things that are unusually similar to what you're doing, moving in the direction you're moving, pursuing interests that became interesting to them only after they saw your relationship to those things. They would tell you it's coincidence. They would tell you they've always been interested, but you know the timeline. You remember what they were focused on before they got close enough to your energy to start absorbing it. They are trying to replicate your frequency because they cannot stop thinking about it. And replication feels to them like a way of possessing something they can't access by just admiring it directly. The third, and most complex, is the saboteur. This is the person who gets genuinely close to you, who integrates themselves into your life and your trust, and then periodically introduces friction. A well-placed doubt here, a subtle undermining comment there. A situation that seems like bad luck but keeps happening in moments when their proximity to you is their drug. Your success destabilizes them because it threatens the dynamic they depend on. They don't want you to fail permanently. They want you to remain in a state where you need them, where they feel close to your center of gravity without being eclipsed by it. Here's the part that's going to be uncomfortable for a moment before it becomes the most empowering thing you've ever heard. The reason these people are obsessed with you is not random, and it's not just about them. You are radiating something. You have been radiating it for longer than you realize, and that signal has been invisible to you because you've been too busy doubting yourself to notice what it's doing to the room. There is a specific quality in certain people that operates like a frequency that very few can fully resist. It's not conventional charisma, it's not traditional success, it's not even raw talent. It is something more elemental than that. It's the sense that a person is in the process of becoming something, that they are mid-transformation, that the person you're watching has not yet arrived at whatever they are becoming, but that the direction of their trajectory is inevitable and significant. People sense this before they can name it. They feel it as a pull they don't understand, and depending on their own relationship with their potential, that pull either manifests as admiration, attraction, or, in the people who feel most threatened by their own unlived life, aggression. The reactor is obsessed with you because watching you move activates the part of them that knows they are standing still. The mirror is obsessed with you because something in your movement showed them a version of themselves they want but don't know how to reach directly. The saboteur is obsessed with you because your growth threatens the story they tell about why they haven't grown. And as long as you're near them, that story gets harder and harder. To all three of them, proof of something. You are evidence. And evidence is uncomfortable when it contradicts the verdict you've already handed down about yourself. What you need to understand about your own signal is this: it doesn't require your permission to transmit. You have been sending it out even in your most insecure moments, even when you felt most invisible, even when you were most convinced you were insignificant. Because what people are sensing in you is not your confidence, it's your depth. It's the sense that there is significantly more beneath the surface than any other human quality. And the people around you, even the ones who attack it, know that on a level that bypasses their conscious awareness completely. Every piece of behavior these people direct at you is a transmission. Every critique, every cold shoulder, every performative indifference, every backhanded comment is a message. And once you learn to decode the message rather than react to the delivery, you gain a level of social and psychological clarity that very few people ever achieve. Because when the reactor makes a cutting remark about your progress, the transmission is, "Your movement reminds me of mine, and I don't know what to do with that." They are not attacking your work, they are responding to the mirror it holds up to their own stagnation. The comment is not about you. It is a cry from the part of them that knows they have been postponing their own becoming. And it doesn't mean you owe them compassion in the moment, you don't. But it does mean you can stop metabolizing their words as truth about your value, because they were never about your value to begin with. When the mirror quietly replicates your aesthetic, your language, your direction, the transmission is, "I recognize something in you that I want to embody, but I don't know how to ask you to teach me." Imitation at this level is a strange form of tribute. It's clumsy, and it can feel violating. But at its core, it is a recognition that what you are doing carries real weight. People do not replicate what they consider genuinely beneath them. They only replicate what they secretly consider above them. Every time you notice the mirror doing this, you are watching someone acknowledge your significance in the only way their pride allows them to. When the saboteur introduces friction at the precise moment your momentum peaks, the transmission is, "I am terrified of what happens to our dynamic when you no longer need me." This is perhaps the most heartbreaking of the three, because underneath the sabotage is a person who is deeply attached to you and deeply convinced that your success will create a distance they won't survive. They are not fundamentally malicious, they are fundamentally afraid. But fear operating without self-awareness causes real damage, and your job is not to sacrifice your trajectory in order to keep someone comfortable in the role they've assigned themselves in your story. Now here is where most people destroy everything. They learn this information, they start to see the patterns, they start to understand the psychology, they start to recognize the obsession beneath the hostility, and they make one of two catastrophic mistakes that wipe out all the advantage this clarity could have given them. The first mistake is confrontation. The second mistake, to understand confrontation is wrong because it collapses the distance, and the distance is your leverage. The moment you let someone know that you've noticed them watching, you've handed them information they can use. You've revealed that their behavior has penetrated your awareness, which means you've told them they matter to you enough to provoke a response. And for someone who is running an contempt, your response is oxygen. Your reaction confirms their relevance. Your irritation proves their impact. Confronting them is the equivalent of walking up to someone who is secretly watching you and saying, "I see." Complete withdrawal is equally damaging, but for a different reason. When you disappear entirely, you deprive yourself of one of the most powerful advantages you currently have, the ability to let these people watch you win. Your presence in shared spaces, your continued movement, your visible evolution while they remain fixed in the patterns that are slowly suffocating them. That is not cruelty. When you withdraw, you deny yourself the compound interest of being witnessed. You also potentially send a signal that their behavior worked, that they succeeded in pushing you out of a space you had every right to occupy. The correct move is something most people never think to attempt because it requires a level of emotional discipline that almost nobody has developed. The correct move is expansion. You get bigger, you get quieter about it, you get more deliberate. You stop leaking energy into reaction and you redirect every joule of it into your own becoming. You let them watch because they're going to watch regardless, and you make what they're watching extraordinary. You use their obsession as fuel without ever acknowledging you've noticed it. This is the move that breaks people who are invested in your smallness because they have no counter for it. They prepared for your reaction. They prepared for your retreat. They have no defense against your becoming. The people who are obsessed with you while calling it hate are generating an enormous amount of psychic energy in your direction. And energy is energy. It doesn't carry a permanent moral charge. A rocket doesn't care whether the fuel was made in a clean facility or a dirty one. It uses what's there. Your job, from this point forward, is to become the kind of person who knows how to convert incoming energy There is a practice that the most psychologically sophisticated high performers in every field have learned to do. And it sounds almost counterintuitive until you feel it working in your own system. When you sharpen your focus, you treat the attention, however hostile its packaging, as the kind of pressure that turns carbon into diamond, rather than the kind that crushes. The distinction is entirely in how you frame it, and framing, as any master of psychology will tell you, is everything. Think about the athletes who perform their best under maximum scrutiny. Think about the creators whose best work emerged during the periods when the most people were waiting for them to fail. Think about the builders, the thinkers, the visionaries who consistently describe their adversaries as their greatest accidental collaborators. This is not myth. This is neuroscience. External pressure, when interpreted as challenge rather than threat, activates the precise cognitive and emotional states that produce peak performance. The people watching you with obsession disguised as hate are, without meaning to, providing you with one of the most potent performance enhancement conditions that exists. But here's the deeper layer, the part that separates those who use this principle from those who merely understand it intellectually. You have to fall genuinely in love with your own direction. Not because of them, not to prove something, not as a performance, but because the day your movement becomes purely yours, completely sovereign, rooted in your own clarity rather than in opposition to theirs, is the day you become completely uncontrollable. And an uncontrollable person, someone whose trajectory no longer depends on anyone else's validation or reaction, is the most threatening and simultaneously the most magnetic thing that can walk into a room. That is the state you are building toward. There is a trajectory to this, and understanding it removes the last of the anxiety you might still be carrying about these people and their place in your story. What happens to people who are obsessed with you as you ascend is not what popular culture suggests. It is not a dramatic confrontation. It is not a moment of public reckoning. It is something far stranger and more final than either of those things. It is a quiet dissolution of the dynamic they depended on, and that dissolution hits them harder than anything you could have deliberately done. The reactor, as you grow, will begin to run out of content. The critiques will become thinner, less targeted, less effective. They will find themselves reaching, over-explaining their positions, escalating the language to maintain the same emotional impact, and eventually exhausting themselves in the attempt, because the thing they were reacting against was your proximity to their level, and as you move past that level, the trigger diminishes. Their obsession doesn't disappear, it transforms into something they find even harder to live with, which is a kind of helpless admiration they have no framework to process. The mirror, as you ascend, will experience something that psychologists call identity destabilization. The replication strategy will stop working because the gap between where you are and where they are will become too wide to bridge through imitation alone. They will be faced with a choice: do the genuine internal work to develop their own path, or abandon the fixation and find someone closer to their current level to mirror. Either outcome is fine for you. Either outcome is, in some sense, a form of completion for them. You served a purpose in their development, even if it was entirely without your knowledge or consent. The saboteur faces the most significant reckoning of all three. As you move forward despite the friction they introduced, as you demonstrate repeatedly that your trajectory is not contingent on their cooperation, the internal narrative they've built, that they are somehow necessary to your story, that without their involvement or proximity your life would look different, begins to collapse. And the collapse of a narrative that someone has organized their self-concept around is one of the most disorienting experiences a human being can have. You don't need to be present for it. You don't need to watch it happen. You just need to keep moving. Here's what I need you to sit with before we reach the close of this. The fact that you found this, that you resonated with this title, that you stayed through this entire framework, that is not coincidence and it is not accident. It is evidence of something that's been building in you for longer than you've acknowledged, a growing recognition that the story you've been told about your situation, that you have enemies, that you're under attack, that the people around you represent threats, is not the complete picture. You are in the middle of a perceptual shift, a shift from seeing yourself as someone who is targeted to someone who is sought, a shift from feeling persecuted to recognizing that what looks like persecution is actually a distorted form of pursuit. And this shift, once it settles into your nervous system, once it becomes the default lens through which you read social dynamics, will change every room you walk into, every relationship you navigate, every professional environment you enter, because the person who understands that they are magnetic, even to people who hate that they are magnetic, moves through the world with a completely different gravity. The pain you've experienced at the hands of these three types of people was real. The confusion was real. The exhaustion of being watched and critiqued and quietly undermined while trying to simply build something meaningful that cost was real, and it mattered. But it also served a purpose that you are only now in a position to see clearly. It refined you. Every moment of navigating that environment without fully understanding it sharpened an instinct in you, developed a social intelligence in you, produced a kind of resilience in you that cannot be manufactured in comfortable conditions. You were being trained, not by them, but by the situation itself, and the training has produced exactly the kind of person who is ready to receive this framework and use it. The people who are obsessed with you while hiding behind hate have already told you everything you need to know about your own potential. They cannot stop watching you because some part of them, the most perceptive, most honest, most essential part, already knows what you are capable of before you fully do. Their obsession is a prophecy, their fixation is a forecast, and the most powerful thing you can do with that knowledge is to take it completely seriously and let it inform not how you see them, but how you see yourself. You are not under siege, you are under observation. And the difference between those two things is the difference between a person who shrinks and a person who rises. Rise, slowly, deliberately, without announcement. The kind of rising that leaves everyone who is watching with nothing to say, because what they're watching has moved so far beyond what they thought was possible that their language for it simply runs out. You already know the three people. You've been feeling their energy without having the framework to name it. Now you have the framework. Use it not as ammunition, but as a compass. Stop spending your attention on decoding their behavior and start spending every unit of that reclaimed attention on the one project that actually matters, becoming the fullest, most uncompromising version of yourself. If this cracked something open in you, share it. Not because the algorithm needs it, but because somewhere in your circle right now is someone who has been misreading their own story the exact same way you were. Someone who thinks they have enemies when what they have is an audience. Give them the vocabulary. Give them the shift. The ripple you start doesn't have to be dramatic to change the direction of everything. Drop a K in the comments if you recognized one of the three. And if you want to go deeper, the next video is already waiting for you. The next video is already waiting for you. The next video is already waiting for you.